Hello. Hello, Ethan. You there? Oh man. God damn it. Yeah. How do I sound now, by the way? Oh man. Yeah, I sound normal. Okay. So let me try to get Ethan back on because my internet dropped. I have no idea why. Let me just get Ethan. Hop back on, Ethan. My internet is back. Sorry about that. Ethan,
That's
you there? Yeah, yeah, and I just checked and I sound normal, thank God. But I'm dying to hear the recording. That must have been so fucking funny. I mean, that was chat. I swear to God, I did not try to sound like Barry White. Okay, that was just some weird shit that the microphone does. Just so you know, I have a Rode Podcaster microphone, the kind that you just plug into USB port, right? And I don't know what the
mhm.
fuck happened. But that was goddamn funny. When an
You have
hour,
1,100 cameras.
yeah,
That's your thing,
yeah, yeah.
and you have a shit microphone.
Yeah,
Explain
no,
that.
no, no, no. I have a good microphone, and actually, for the microphones for my videos, it's pretty decent. The lab mic is pretty good. I'm just not that. See, sound. You tinker with sound, and you can go on forever. And so I'm like not
Mhm.
that keen about tinkering with sound. And so I try to do it as basic as possible. And a lot of times I've noticed too is that see overprocessed sound, like in movies lately, it doesn't sound very good. I'm much more in favor of like naked on-site sound. The whatever is recorded, on location sound. And I always think of Heat, the movie, the Michael Mann picture, right?
It's a great movie.
Great movie, and the gunshots, right? That gunshot sound was only possible because it was like the location sound. They recorded it live, right? And later,
Hmm.
when they tried to, when they were in post production, they recorded sound but didn't sound nearly as cool as what they'd captured on location. And so they used it because the buildings ricocheted the sound. All that
Oh
concrete and all
yeah.
that glass ricocheted the sound. And so the sound would remain, it wouldn't evaporate, okay? Like when you're in an open location. It was because it was shot downtown that it sounded so awesome, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so yeah. But anyway, we were talking about. I lost track of what the hell we were talking about.
Were you reading chats? I think you had just finished reading super chats at this
Oh,
point.
right. Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. I was reading the super chat. I think the last one I might have missed it, but before my internet cut out, I don't know what the fuck happened. Sorry, chat. Um, Edwin
send
Boyette.
more super chats.
Yeah, Edwin Boyette says, "Great choice with Sim EVS. We have to establish moral clarity. Our opponents won't." Yes, most
Yeah, yeah.
certainly.
Sim was the writer in question. That and the 14-year-old girl. So, yeah, that was the whole thing. Like, what do we do? What do we do? No, we just got to get rid of them. We got to get rid of them. That's it. And we move on. We don't question that. We don't play around with that. I just, I can't. It's just not right. That'll come back to bite you real good. So,
Yeah,
yeah, we're
unfortunately,
moving
yes.
on.
Yeah, unfortunately, in this day and age, yeah. And by the way, what did Kitty Styles want? Okay. Uh,
You should invite her in here to argue with you. I
well,
would like to hear that.
I can't boot her, and so that's why I don't want to invite her. Um,
What do you mean you can't boot her? Of course you can.
no, Hangout nowadays, they did some modification to Hangouts, and you cannot boot people from a Hangout. See, like you and I are hanging out, right? I can't kick
Yeah.
you. So if I pass on the link to her, we're sort of like stuck with her, okay? And she could potentially, I don't have any control of what she could do. That's what happened to Kevin Logan the other day. Kevin Logan had Crown T, and Crown T passed the Hangout link to Jeff Holiday, who in turn passed it on to a whole bunch of people, and they all
Yeah.
brigaded the live stream. And Kevin
How are
Logan,
you with Crown Tea these days, by the way?
yeah, the poor bastard. That guy is just he's just absurd. Well, you know the whole lore on that shit, right? Oh man.
Yeah, somewhat. Like I'm kind of a fan. Like I watch that stuff, and the skeptic community, I'm a fan of from a distance. Like I got to yell at Sargon once,
Yeah.
which was fun. Yeah, was it Ethan Ralph or it was the Kumite,
Right.
and Sargon was there, and this was right after some sort of problem he had with Medicare. Now I'm a big Medicare fan.
Me too.
I think Medicare's a genius,
Yeah.
one of the smartest guys on the internet, in my opinion, and really, really good at getting down to the heart of the matter, finding
Yeah.
liars, all of that stuff.
Yeah.
Never want to cross that guy. So I watch his stuff all the time. And so here's Sargon after that. And everybody pussyfoots around Sargon.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've noticed that.
Yeah.
Like, people talk a lot of stuff around about Sargon, like I think on their own streams. But then when Sargon's there, everybody's like, yes, sir, Mr. Sargon.
Yeah.
Like, what is going on with YouTubers? I'm
Well,
just like,
this is this was my early theory, and now it's been slightly modified. My early theory was that they were all just remoras for the views, okay? Because Sargon has been very successful at building a very large audience with a lot of views. He's got like coming up on 900,000 subscribers on his main channel, and he's got like 350,000 on his secondary. He's very successful at that. And very good at that. What he basically does is that he stirs outrage. He finds news that outrages people and just stirs them up. And so, of course, when you stir up people's rage and anger, yeah, sure, you're going to get adherents. And it seems to me a cheap way to go about it. My personal preference is to put out a message of more like aspirational, more like you're trying to achieve something as opposed to raging at something that happens. Okay, but okay, be that as it may, Sargon has been very good at using that large audience, wielding it in order to bulk up favored YouTubers. That's how Kraut and T got his initial bump up. He was friends with Sargon. Sargon elevated him when he had something like 10,000 views, 10,000 subscribers rather, or perhaps even less.
what did he get him to?
He just brought him onto his channel a lot and streamed him and linked to him. And let him do
And
the
what
Weekend
is
Stupid.
T at now?
Oh, what is
What
Kraut and T at now?
proud of?
Well,
Yeah.
he peaked at 131,000 subscribers back in
Right.
mid 2017, and now he's just over 100,000 subscribers. He lost 32 odd thousand subscribers out of 131, and right now he's at 100,500 or roughly. And
Yeah.
word is that he's very depressed about the thought that his channel will sink below 100,000 subscribers. And the thing is,
Oh,
every
yeah.
time he puts out a video, he loses subscribers. He loses about anywhere between 800 and 2,000 subscribers each time he posts, which is just
Oh my
fucking
God.
funny. Okay?
Yeah.
And they've gone full retard. Kraut and that whole crew, the David Shitrat and the Liberal Sanity Project and all those guys, they're all fucking crazy. And their whole program now is just to destroy anybody that they don't like, have them deplatformed. They just deplatformed, they just shut down Black Pigeon Speak's secondary channel, Navy Hado, which is,
Why?
well, because they don't like him. Because they don't like the guy. It's not complicated. It's, again, resentment, envy, It's the fuel of hatred. Resentment and
Did
envy.
he do something wrong? Did he say something out of line? Did he get out of line with those guys?
No, but they all of a sudden, Kraut did a video attacking him out of the clear blue sky. I mean, there was no reason for it. Black Pigeon Speaks does his very highly produced videos that, you've watched BPS videos, I take it.
No.
Oh, well, he produces these very highly produced videos, and he's got like about 300, on his main channel, he has like something like 350,000, perhaps more, 350,000
Yeah.
subscribers. And he's, he regularly does very well with each of his videos. He's got a dedicated fan base. And what it basically is commentary on the news and how outrageous some of the shit is. And a lot of times he cites thinkers, sometimes fairly obscure people that he brings in, not like actual other YouTubers, but rather like written sources. And some of them are from very old texts that nobody pays attention to now, but are worth paying attention to. He turned me on, for instance, to J.D. Unwin's book Sex and Culture, which is a anthropology book that came out in the 30s, which is really, really fucking good. I mean, really
Hmm.
eye-opening. Okay, very realistic about human nature and about human society, and it talks about the sexual dynamic between men and women and civilizations. It's very interesting. But anyway, BPS was minding his own business, doing his own videos. He never gets into any kind of drama or any shit like that. And Kraut, out of the blue, dropped the video saying that he was a plagiarist and just shitting all over Black Pigeon. I mean, like really just going to town on him, right? And saying that he plagiarizes and that he's a Nazi and all the rest of it. You know, I mean, it's basically like that he's like a right wing fascist, evil Nazi Hitler, blah blah blah, and that he
What the hell?
plagiarizes, right? And the thing is, see, Kraut is a coward, so he never goes on stream to argue any of the points, you know.
Hmm.
But so this guy, Liberal Sanity Project, went on the Ralph Retort, right, to argue with BPS about the citations. And live on stream, right, they look up the video, and the citations are all there. In the video itself, Black Pigeon Speaks is citing the writers that he quotes. And there are parts of the video where it's not clear that he's actually quoting from the work of the guys that he mentions, but he mentions them in the video and he mentions them and links to them in the description. So there's
The
no
citations
plagiarism.
are all there. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
At worst, you could say that, oh, in the video, it wasn't clear what Black Pigeon was saying and what he was quoting from this writer that was cited in the video and in the description. That's the worst that you could say, which in the scheme of things is a trivial sin, okay?
yeah.
Yeah, but the reason is, and I guessed correctly, that Kraut's program now is that he is, trying to curry favor with SJWs because he did a lot of anti-Muslim videos, and it seems clear that he's trying to curry favor with them, and he's allied to a guy called Jared Holt, who's on Hate Watch, I think is the name of the outfit. It's all very kind of creepy. And at the same time, Kraut is with Sargon, and Sargon sort of like supports him in these efforts. You know, he certainly
Are
doesn't
they
put his
giving you trouble anymore? Or are
Oh,
you they're
me? No, no.
yeah.
They gave me all the trouble that they could when I was a baby channel, when I had like 12,000 subscribers, right? Gave me a
Hmm.
whole ton of shit, called me all sorts of things are patently untrue. Okay, it claimed that I was like a fraudster and a con man, which is not true. I've never been arrested for anything anywhere, and I've never even been sued for crying out loud. You know, they said all kinds of things about my personal life. Kraut keeps claiming that I'm living in Ukraine because I'm on the run from justice in the United States and Europe, which is kind of crazy, you know. In 17, I was living in London, you know, for the year. And for various reasons, we just decided to move. And, my leaving London, Kraut interpreted as him driving me out of London. That somehow Kraut had been able to do this, which is fucking foolish, right? Uh, it's just crazy. And the guy he's certifiable, and I think he's quite dangerous because he's in Spanish we have a saying, as dangerous as a monkey with a razor blade. You know, yeah,
Yes.
that's the saying. That you never know what the monkey's going to do with the razor blade, right? Yeah, he
No.
doesn't know any better. So
Nothing good.
nothing good, yeah. So this guy is dangerous in that regard, but he himself is a trivial individual, and he's just filled with anger and resentment. I mean, he's just look. He lives on the dole from his mother, you know, in some crappy little, like semi-underground apartment, like one of those like walk-down kind of apartments, and
Yeah.
he's
He cut his dick in half. I mean, with an
yeah, no,
axe.
he didn't. He didn't. No, that's a lie. He got the shit kicked out of him by high schoolers when he was in high school. He got the ever living shit kicked out of him, and you have to think to yourself how much they must have hated him to beat him up so badly that they hit him in the crotch. I mean,
That it cracked his dick in half. Like
that
that's
is
a
yeah,
lot of hate.
yeah,
A
yeah.
dick crack is a lot of hate. Like when you're like, oh man, those guys beat me up, and then you like take off your underpants and you've got a crack in your dick. Like that's when you know. that you fucked up socially. That's when you
Ethan,
know that you've committed some kind of social faux pas.
yeah, exactly. I mean, Ethan, you've been in street fights or scraps in school, right? I
Of
have.
course, yeah.
Yeah, everybody has, right?
Mhm.
Yeah, you fight and you slug it out and whatever, and then later you're like, oh, okay, sure. But nobody hits you in the dick, in the crotch, right? Except unless
No,
they really fucking hate your guts. Okay.
I wanted to pick a fight with Kenny Baker, the midget inside R2D2 one time. And that it might have happened. It might
Hmm.
have happened, but luckily my wife held me back, so I didn't do that. Never got punched in the dick. But
You might
it,
have. You might have. Yeah, with
I
Kenny
might have
Baker.
under those
Yeah, but
circumstances.
he would
Yeah.
have done. He would have been doing the best he could. So it's no fault Kenny
Oh,
Baker.
I would have loved to have told people that R2D2 beat my ass. I would have loved that. I would have let him do it.
Yeah,
I would have
sure.
let him
Why not?
do
It's a
it.
great story. But no,
Mhm.
seriously though, I mean, the guy is deranged. Okay, I mean, it's as simple as that. And he came up with this stupid story that he had suffered an industrial accident to cover up the fact. And the reason I know that this is a story is that he, moron, confessed to it in other previous posts because the magicians at Chan on the Chans, right, found
Mhm.
out his old identities. Okay, and
Mhm.
they like sussed out all the boards and forums he had been on, and they gathered all that shit and smeared him when Krautfall happened in late 17. You know, it was goddamn fucking funny. I mean, all the lies that he told people. You know, he'd never finished high school. Let alone gone to college, and yet he insisted that he was like an intellectual kind of thing. And it was so goddamn funny. Like the last video that I paid attention to was one he did on history, right? Now, I studied two things in college. I studied philosophy and I studied history. So I start listening to this video about history, right? And then he says some shit about Voltaire's opinion about the French Revolution. He says that Voltaire thought the French Revolution was okie dokie, basically. And that was news to me because, like, see, as somebody who knows history, I know that Voltaire died 10 years before the French Revolution. So how the fuck
Mm.
would he know anything, have any opinion about the French Revolution? You know, it's all kinds. Look, they're all crazy, okay, in that outfit. And
My favorite thing that you did was received pronunciation when you called him out on his fucking accent. I thought I was gonna die, man. I laughed so hard.
oh, so you
And the
know the lore. You know the lore real well. Yeah, yeah.
I've watched your videos. I told you I was a fan of yours. I watched your videos. I don't have time to watch I watch you, I watch Medicare. But I don't, I'm not paying
Oh,
attention to too much of the other stuff. I tried to watch Sargon. I think Sargon's gone off the
no, he's got off the deep
I
end.
think he's gone off the rails. I don't think he, at this point his videos are I don't trust him. Isn't that a weird thing? Like, you want to. There's a weird thing about being a fan of a YouTuber. Like for someone like me, my channel's called Comic Arts Pro Secrets. You want to hope that I know what I'm talking about when it
Sure.
comes to what I claim to know things about. You
Exactly.
you hope that you got to trust me to some extent.
Yeah.
Once that trust has been broken, it's fucking over. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just over. When
That's
you
interesting that you say that, and let me say the reason being is that see, Sargon and his crew defamed me and slandered me relentlessly because I realized I guessed that they were all involved in Kraut's bullshit, right? And
yeah.
they all went after my trustworthiness, and all claimed that I was a con man and blah 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 and a criminal and fraudster and whatever. And now that I think about it, you're right. The coin that you have, insofar as YouTube, is your audience's belief in your credibility, and
Hmm.
that's the thing that they went after me about. That I was not credible. That everything I said was
Good
a
point.
lie, and that it was like I was like playing some game or something like that.
Hey, if you're given bad advice and you're a coach, I mean, you're a life coach. That's what you are. You are a down to earth, kind of life coach for boys. That's who you are for young
Basically,
men.
yeah,
So if they can convince people that you don't know what you're talking about or you're giving bad advice, that's it for you.
yeah, I
So
guess so.
yeah, these people, yeah, they know what they're doing. They're tacticians, you
Yeah, but
know.
they don't have any strategy. Okay. Yeah, they're in the short term. Sure, they might score a victory, but they don't see the long game. They're very bad at the
Mhm.
long game, and they don't see what's going on. Is that see all this hubbub that they're creating is just painting Sargon, especially with a big red target. You think that the Patreon thing is going to be the end of it? Mm-mm. They're going to shit can his channel this year. I'm betting it. He's
Oh
going to.
yeah, yeah, I agree with you. I when they took down his Patreon, I said, "What is going on?" It's like Sargon of all people, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, but then again, every time I hear that clip of him using the N word,
Oh God.
I'm like, "What were you thinking, you idiot? Like, what were you thinking?
It's a.
Like, where did you think that you were
Yeah, I
that you
know.
could talk like that?"
No, it's just absurd. I mean, it's just really fucking crazy. And I remember when that stream came out. I actually thought that it was in response to something said in the chat, but it wasn't. He just out of thin air said that shit. I was
Yeah,
horrified.
yeah,
I thought that they were going to can him right then and there. I was surprised that YouTube sort of like let it slide. I mean, it was really unconscionable. I mean, like because it sounded. Here's the thing: the skeptics always say, "Oh, you're an optics cuck," but yeah, but see, optics are the only way that you perceive what is inside other people's heads because we don't have the ability to read each other's minds now, do we? So if
no,
your optics, how you present yourself, the words you say, that's how people perceive you to be. And so if you portray yourself as a racist by using that kind of language, and you dress up in a black shirt and black wraparound sunglasses all the time whenever you're out in public, and whenever you do
yeah,
your videos in a black shirt, you look
yeah,
like a fascist, quite frankly. So
yeah,
if he looks like a fascist and talks like a fascist, he must be a fascist. They're gonna shit can his channel. I mean, I'm thinking that YouTube is like waiting for an opportunity for like some clear violation, some clear misstep, like the white N word thing, and
yeah.
and they're gonna shit
God, that
can
was
him.
weird.
Oh man.
And no, he said it. He's like, I was just talking to them in their language. No, I think there's a weird thing with him. He said something like, "Do you think I'm going to stand here and take this kind of disrespect? Like,
Yeah.
I am like Sargon. Nobody owes you respect. Like, I mean, not on YouTube. Like, of all places, you'll get genuine respect from people who actually respect you. But I know that if I go into the belly of the beast, if I start talking to these SJWs, they're going to be saying all kinds of nasty things to me, and I got to be prepared to be severely disrespected. And you go where you're not wanted and where people, have some disdain for you, they're going to treat you with disrespect, demanding respect. And then when you don't get it, doubling down and calling them the N word, you're acting like N words, he said.
It's a
It was stunning.
he was pretty masterful at sort of like being able to flip that around and convince people that he was just using their words against them. But it just it no it did.
No, I disagree.
Well,
Yeah.
look, I think that retrospectively, that thing sort of like it sort of like happened, and everybody thought that something horrible was going to happen as a result of it, that they were going to shit can his channel or whatever, and then nothing happened. But then this Patreon thing happened. I think that he just has a target on his back now. I think that, and I think YouTube wants to get rid of him, not because of his content, but because of all the shenanigans around him. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
joining UKIP and that whole balls up because he joined UKIP and you know it was just a disaster. You know what I mean? God
Well, that's
damn.
what I went after him on when he was like, I got to talk to him, and I just said, so like, like there's an article in the Times,
Hmm.
an article. Remember the article in the Times after like came out directly either before or right after his appearance with the politicians at UKIP,
Yeah.
and it just said racist YouTube racist
Yeah.
like in big like, and I said that had to hurt, huh? And he's like, well, no, I don't care. I'm like, what do you mean you don't care? That's a very Sargon. That's a very big newspaper that everyone's gonna read, calling you a racist. And he's just like, well, I died. It doesn't matter what you say. It doesn't matter what your excuses are. The fact of the matter is that is incredibly damaging because most people don't care what you have to say. Nobody's going to listen to your defense. They just totally punked you by putting your face smiling smugly in a big newspaper, and then calling you racist in a banner headline. And I was like, does any part of you feel like Medicare's laughing right now at this? And
Yeah,
he got like he just kind of said, "I hope he is." Medicare, Jim, I hope you're laughing, or something like that. I can't remember, but it was just like that. You know, like I have to know what that's like. Like you when you've said that when you've said white N word, you're acting like N words,
yeah,
and then you're going to go. The press is going to find out, and they're going to make you look like a monkey,
yeah.
uh, which is which
Which
is
is
what they
exactly what
did.
they
Oh my
did. Yeah,
god.
yeah. Well,
Yeah,
I'm sorry, I cut you off. What were you saying? You're
no. I was gonna say no. You know, when you said before that, like, yeah, he nothing happened. It doesn't always happen right away. Like
yeah.
things like that settle in, and they sort of grow roots, and they they sort of become poisonous that kills you. I mean, it's that kind of thing doesn't go away, and it will be the end of him. You're
Well,
exactly right. This year,
yeah, and my the principal mistake that he has, and which Kraut has, and a lot of these people have, is an unwillingness. They lack humility. Okay. Now let me explain a
yeah.
specific moment. See, like I started up my Patreon way back when, but then like a few months ago, like 3 months ago, I really started up in earnest rather. I decided that I was going to post a video a week on Patreon, and that way, people who were supporters of me on Patreon would get like a bang for their buck. You know what I mean? And
Hmm.
yeah, and I shilled for it initially, and that's all good and fine. But then I sort of like shilled for it a little bit too hard, and I got some pushback from my audience, and I realized, sort of like objectively, yeah, I'd been shilling too hard, you know, because there was the surge of money, and so I'm like, oh, I'll like shill it some more, and maybe I'll get another surge. I wasn't being dishonest, but I was just shilling a little too hard, and so I apologized to
Yeah,
my audience. I said, I fucked up. I'm sorry. And my audience was basically, all good. Okay, don't do it again, coach. But all good. And
they love you. Yeah,
well, I don't know if they love me. No homo. Hashtag no homo. But no, the point I'm trying to make is that, see, when you fuck up, everybody fucks up. Everybody does. I don't care what your name is. You could be like the angel sent from heaven, and you're going to fuck up once in a while, right? The
hmm,
point is that when you fuck up, you have to make it right. You have to either apologize or make it right somehow, or basically show your contrition and recognize, have the humility to recognize that you were wrong. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with admitting that you're wrong and telling people so. And
oh,
either
that's tough, man. I don't know if I agree with you, Coach.
what?
I don't know if I agree with you about that in this day and age. Now, I think in Sargon's case, maybe he should have, but then again, you can't apologize anymore.
Oh no, no, you're talking about like kowtowing to SJWs. Fuck that. No, no, no.
Yeah.
No. I'm not talking about kowtowing to SJWs who are trying to get you on something. No, in that sense, fucking double down. Fucking double
Hmm.
down. I mean, like,
Yeah.
yeah, just blow it off, or double down. No, no, no. I'm not saying about kowtowing. Okay, I'm not saying of like bending the knee to your political opponents, because what they're basically doing there is using people's natural civility as a power move. No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about when you genuinely fuck up. When he said the white N word, right? Everybody was sort of
Yeah.
like shocked, right? And then it sort of like petered out and calmed down. Then he should have gone out and said, it was a terrible mistake. I never should have used that term, and I thought I was being clever, but it just didn't work out, and I'm sorry. Okay?
Yeah, I think you're right. That might have sold. That might have worked.
Yeah. I mean, like, because at first there was like a big kerfuffle, but it was really more among the inside baseball crowd, right? Um, if after that kerfuffle had died down, he'd said, "Yeah, I fucked up. I shouldn't have said that." It would have inoculated him, frankly, against the Patreon thing. But a lot of
Mm.
reasonable people after the Patreon thing can say, "Well, Jesus Christ, I hear this guy, and he is saying this racist shit. So, and he looks like a racist. So,
He looks like a racist.
yeah. I mean, come on, doesn't he?"
I don't know. I don't know what a racist looks like. I think of racist as looking like hillbillies. I really do. Like that. When I think of racist, I think of hillbillies.
Uh,
But I mean that isn't the way it is anymore, is it? That's just not the way it is.
I don't
Sometimes that
know. I look,
Smoothest.
I don't particularly care one way or another if anybody's a racist or not. I just do not care because I can't
Yeah.
be policing what's in everybody else's heart. Okay. And if somebody is a racist, he doesn't like black people or Asian people or Jews or this, that, the other. So what? I could give a shit. I mean, I just don't care.
Yeah.
I don't feel that we have to police everybody and everybody has to be nice with one another all the fucking time, right? I don't. And if somebody wants to
No.
spew out some like neo-Nazi propaganda, fine, let him. I think the big mistake was not defending Andrew Anglin. You know, when the Daily Stormer got shit canned, that's when we all should have gone out there and to man the
Oh, I wasn't
barricades.
aware of this. What is this?
Oh yeah, well Andrew Anglin, he's the guy behind the Daily Stormer and the internet's the hosting platform or whatever it was basically rescinded his right to be on the internet. He got shit canned, and just because of his
It's the
political
Daily
views.
Stormers like with
Well,
Nazi
Nazis,
news.
yeah, yeah, totally
Okay.
neo-Nazi kind of shit, right? I'm certainly not a
Yeah, yeah.
neo-Nazi, right? But he should have been defended. But then it was Andrew Anglin. He got shit canned. Oh, he's a Nazi, so it's okay. And then Glenn
Yeah.
Beck. Oh, he's a conspiracy theorist, so it's okay. And then it's going to be Sargon, okay?
Hmm.
I'm betting it's Sargon. I used to think that maybe Dave Rubin would get shit canned, but Dave Rubin is too hard to shit can because he's
He's
gay,
very mainstream, and
very
yeah, he's gay.
mainstream. Yeah.
But Milo
Oh,
Yiannopoulos,
and he causes
you
so
know,
much trouble with the pedophilia thing. Yeah.
yeah,
But I think that Sargon is going to be the one to go, you know?
they're gonna make an example of Sargon.
Yeah. But I think that also what's interesting is that he's going to milk it. You know, I'm a victim and all the rest of it. But there will be enough sins that are attached to him that he's not going to be able to milk it. Okay? You got to understand, see, this guy's a cynical opportunist as far as I'm concerned. I mean, I really despise the guy because the
You,
guy.
you really despise Sargon. You
Oh yeah.
hate Sargon.
Oh yeah. I mean,
Yeah. Okay.
I see. It's not that I hate him like, ooh, I hate him. No, no, no. I would like to see him ruined. Sure, I wouldn't
Mm,
mind it at all. And see, because
yeah.
sometimes people try to harm you, and what are you
Oh,
supposed to
sure.
do?
Yeah, 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 yeah. He came after you, didn't he?
Yeah,
I gotcha.
yeah. And so,
I'm checking my heart for that. Like, I'm like, do I want Sargon ruined? And I can't find that in my heart. Like, there are very few
sure.
people that I actually want to see suffer.
Well, it would be
There
weird if
are
you
there
had like, yeah, but you probably have like two or three, right? To
a
tell you the truth,
handful. Yeah,
yeah. In my look, he's not big on my priority list. I've got bigger fish to fry, quite frankly.
but you get a smug chuckle out of it
Yeah,
if you
I'll be
read
smugly
Smuggle.
chuckling if I hear that Sargon's channel got shit canned. Yeah, you know
Yeah,
when he
yeah.
lost his 12 grand a month from Patreon, I didn't
You thought that was
mind.
good.
I thought that was fine. You know, I
Yeah.
mean, like, sure. No, I've been following this whole Patreon thing. I think that Jordan Peterson and Dave Rubin were very foolish to have jumped ship, and I've been giving it a lot of thought. And I have a theory about it. You want me to hit you with a theory?
Yeah, let's hear it.
Okay, so for those of you who don't know, like Patreon shit canned Sargon's account, and it was 12 grand a month, a lot of money, and there was a big kerfuffle, right? A lot of creators got freaked out. A lot of people left the Patreon platform because they didn't want to be, contributing to a platform, even though they were contributing to their favorite content creator, but they didn't want to contribute to this platform that they thought was biased, liberally biased, right? And Sam
Hmm.
Harris, who had a big Patreon presence, he quit outright. He just went and said, "No, I'm quitting. I'm leaving Patreon, effective immediately, and just go to my website, and you can subscribe there to my podcast and what have you." And I do believe Sam Harris was getting like 30,000 a month or something like that. I mean, it was a hefty amount. Okay.
Wow.
Now,
Yeah.
Jordan Peterson and Dave Rubin also get a hefty amount. I mean, like up there, like 30, 40K, or perhaps more. Okay, I've forgotten.
Mhm.
Well, I'll look it up right now as we're speaking.
He got 40K last I heard.
40K?
Maybe more now. Yeah.
I would not be surprised. Jordan Peterson Patreon. Let's look at that. That's easy. Jordan Peterson is creating lectures about profound psychological ideas. Oh, it's private
Yeah.
now, but he's got 5,000 Patreons. So you could say between 20 and 50,000, somewhere along that line.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So anyway, they announced recently that they had been mumbling that they had like some Patreon replacement platform that they were developing, and they said that in like a live stream conversation that they had, that they were developing this platform, but they were going to be remaining on Patreon, but they weren't sure and they'd think about it, blah blah blah. And finally, they made the big announcement that they were leaving Patreon effective January 15th. Okay, this was just a few days ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
I have a theory. Okay, I have a theory, and it's just I have no inside information, but I have the following theory. Jordan Peterson and Dave Rubin are leaving Patreon, but their new platform is not done. Okay, from what they said, that there were a lot of problems with the platform, the user interface, blah blah. It'll be a few months at least before that alternate platform is done, and yet they are leaving on January 15th instead of staying on. Right? Okay, this is my theory. My theory is that Jordan Peterson and Dave Rubin, and I have no evidence for this, just idle speculation. I think that they went to Patreon and said, "Look, we can help you reestablish credibility if you ease up on our fees and maybe even give us a piece of the action, give us a piece of Patreon." I think that they made that play, and
Mm.
Jack Conte said, "Fuck off." That's idle speculation on my part, but you see what I mean? Sam Harris just saw this shit and said, "Fuck it, I'm leaving," and he left. And
Yeah.
he has enough money that he could hire somebody to set up the subscription service on his website and do it through PayPal and not have to pay the Patreon fees. I mean, the cost of hiring somebody part time to manage that is less than the fees he was paying to Patreon. So it probably made economic sense for Sam Harris to leave, and the scandal and the whole bit, and so he split. But I think that Jordan Peterson and Dave Rubin tried to have some sort of rapprochement with Patreon, and I think that their ask was too big. What do you think? You think I'm full of shit, or there might be something there?
I know Jordan Peterson. He's a friend of mine.
Oh, really?
Uh, uh, yeah, I illustrated 12 Rules for Life. That's
Oh,
one of my.
right. I'd
Yeah, yeah.
forgotten. Oh,
So
man.
I have to say I don't think he's like that. I don't. It's a good theory. Like you and I might think about doing something like that. I would love to strong arm Patreon somehow,
Sure.
but I don't think that motivates Jordan Peterson. I think that he's not really as driven by money as you might think. I think he really, well, not in that way. I think if anything, the two of them might have gotten together and saw this as literally an opportunity to hijack Patreon and by creating their own replacement. Yeah, that's kind of my theory. I really do think that it's all pretty genuine. I'm not doing anything. I'm not leaving Patreon. I don't, but I will say this: Sargon of Akkad may have destroyed Patreon. I mean,
Yes.
he might have done it. It's like you look at the influence. Like, it's amazing. It's like when he first got his channel, his Patreon taken down. He like, I don't know, people were making fun of him or there was some concern, but Patreon really is suffering consequences from this, and
Yeah.
rightfully so, because
Yeah.
whether you like Sargon or not, Patreon doesn't mean much to me personally. I don't get much money from it, and I'm not trying to get money from Patreon. But whether you like him or not, Patreon has basically said, we're going to be the arbitrator now. We are going to
Yeah.
personally decide. Like, there's no security anymore.
No.
And YouTube worries me for the same reason. I'm not worried about me necessarily getting deplatformed. I might someday. But the fact of the matter is that, YouTube should be a public library in a
Mm.
way. I mean, it should just be like, if I want to go watch, filthy, disgusting content,
Yeah.
Nazi stuff, I should be able to. It should be there, and it's none of their business. I mean, they should have everything available, all viewpoints represented, and the idea of them cracking down on this makes me physically ill. Like it
Yes.
really does.
Yeah, it does.
You know,
Especially the issue of payment processing, whereby, for instance, you got Mastercard telling
it's the
Patreon,
worst.
yeah, that they don't want Robert Spencer, not Richard Spencer, Robert Spencer. He was the guy who
Yeah.
did Jihadi Watch. They want him off. That's really scary because Jihadi Watch itself is. I don't think it was particularly controversial, quite frankly. Robert Spencer, not Richard Spencer of alt-right fame, but Robert Spencer. It was. I mean, I don't really follow him. I didn't really know the guy, but I'd never heard anything particularly, controversial about the guy, let alone any kind of egregious behavior. And so, for Mastercard to have the interest that they would shit can the guy, what now? You have the wrong opinion, so you're not going to get Mastercard. Now you have the wrong opinion, so you're not
Oh,
going to
it's
get like
horrible.
running water. Where does it
God,
end?
yeah, I really hope it doesn't come to that. Everybody's talking about it, and it's definitely it's something that we can foresee. So I can see that happening. I do hope people like Jordan Peterson and Dave Rubin step up and create alternate platforms. We have to do it. When I talk about Hawaii, and my, building a new comic book industry because the mainland has become radioactive, that's part of this. Where do normal people go if they want to make comic books? There is no alternative platform for them. And, listen, I'm just one guy. Nobody else is going to do this shit. I have to do it. It's like I
Mm.
have to do it. Nobody else will if I don't. So that is, I talked to my wife about this. I'm like, that's kind of, I think, why I'm here at this point. Why fate has led us to this point is I have to create something new while comic books die around us.
Mm.
And so it's, that's my ambition. Everyone has to do that if they can. If you can create an alternative platform that SJWs don't have a monopoly on, don't have control over, cannot terrorize, man, we've got to fucking do it, and we've got to do it this year. It's got to be
Yeah.
done this year.
Let me tell you this, Ethan. See, I was a novelist by training, and then I got into investing. Now, investing, there's a lot of downtime because you're just waiting around for shit to happen.
Hmm.
It's like you're playing casino, like you're playing at the roulette table, but it's like a roulette table that's going at slow motion. You know, and at extreme slow motion, endless slow motion. So you're just waiting around. So you got a lot of downtime. And a lot of times you want to distract yourself so you can do other things, right? So
Yeah.
a couple of 3 years ago or so, I wrote a book, a novel, and it was a good one. And I placed it with a very, very reputable literary agent, okay? I mean, just at one of the big agencies. And it was shopped around, and all of the editors rejected it, okay? And I realized there that the possibilities of me having any kind of publishing career were over, because it was rejected because of the topic and how a lot of the characters were treated. It was basically because it wasn't SJW enough. Okay,
Mm.
and so I realized that I still want to write, and I still do write. I write quite a bit, as a matter of fact, and but there's no outlet. And I've been toying with the idea, and that's one of the reasons I wanted to talk to you, quite frankly, is because you're doing this essentially self-publishing comic books, and
Yeah.
I'm inching up to the decision to self-publish. Now, for me, this is a very, very difficult decision because in publishing, a guy who self-publishes is a loser. Okay.
Yeah.
Traditionally, when I was growing up or starting in my career, only losers would self-publish. And
Hmm.
so, and the fact that I'm a published author, I'm a legitimately published author with the big five publishers. I was published by Random House and St. Martin's Press and Viking. Well, actually Putnam, but that's part of Viking. It's the same thing. And so, it was legitimate publishers. And it was like I'm a real writer because I was published by legitimate publishers, and they paid me an advance on what I wrote. I didn't have to pay a printer to make the book happen. This isn't Vanity Press. I'm the real deal, right? And it was a source of
Hmm.
pride. And growing up in the business, the Vanity Press, the self-publishing people, they were just losers, right? Because they couldn't cut it in the real world, in the real publishing, right?
Yeah.
And so for me, psychologically, it's a big step because it feels like a step down. But then I realized that there's no room for me, and I can write the most talented work in the world, and it's not going to get published by the mainstream press. It's simply not. I had a talking to, I was given a talking to by a literary agent, and he was like, "Dude, it's moved on. Okay, it's dominated by women from the Upper East Side and minorities, protected minorities, and gay men, and those are the people who pick the novels, and they're never going to pick
Yeah.
your shit because it just does not reflect the values that they have, and it, in point of fact, implicitly espouses certain views that you have that are anathema to them." And it was a very depressing conversation, to tell you the truth. And that's why I'm very curious to ask you about how the self-publishing thing has gone for you insofar as comic books.
Well, I haven't done it yet, not officially. I've only crowdfunded a whole lot of money, but I mean, look, I don't think it matters anymore. I don't think it matters. I think we're pushing forward into a new frontier that people, our age don't really fully comprehend. They don't understand it. Television is going away. It's like these things are all going away. And what really is going to matter is the communication that we have right here, right now, on platforms like YouTube, even if it isn't YouTube in the future. But I hope it is. I love YouTube. This is a way to market yourself, your ideas, and products to a very large audience. And it isn't the reason why self-published authors might have been perceived to be losers way back when. And I know a few, and they are losers. Is that you have to, it's like you're going to print up like 100 copies of your book, and you're going to sit at a book fair trying to sell one or two of them. Nobody wants them. That's not that. They don't know you. People
Yeah.
need to know you.
Yeah.
If you got out on your channel and you were like, I am doing, the content that you have learned to love, that you watch all the time. For me, I'm writing a book called, The Wisdom of Coach Red Pill. So, something like
Yeah,
that.
sure.
And what?
No, yeah, I agree. I understand. Go
Okay,
on.
yeah, you do that. You were to market it to your 143,000 subscribers. You are going to sell more copies of your book than you would if it were published, most likely through Penguin or Random House or any of these other. You are. What's a New York Times bestseller sell 30,000 copies right now? It's pathetic.
Yeah.
You can do more than that. So I wouldn't worry about it. The thing about it is just like having control of your vision, owning what you do. I own my characters. I own my comics. 100% of the profits, and they're significant, go to me. And that's the way to be. I don't, when I was working at DC Comics, I think I probably made about 3% total of what that's what went into my bank account, about 3% of what the comic books earned.
Of the revenue generated, you got 3%. Yeah.
Yeah. So I do feel like this is the way to do it. I mean, it's a rare opportunity. People don't quite have it yet. They don't understand. My son told me 5 years ago about YouTube, and I didn't believe. He's like, you can play video games on YouTube and make $1 million a year. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. That's weird.
Yeah.
But people are doing it, and it is either get with it or get left behind. So I support you in the idea of The Wisdom of Coach Red Pill. I'd read it.
Yeah. Well, no, it's fiction, but yeah. But I see your point. Yeah. Let me do some super chats real quick.
Okay.
Edwin Boyette I'm not sure. Oh yeah, I did read it. But
You
just
read
in
him
case.
already.
Yeah. Great choice with the Slim Sim EVS. We have to establish moral clarity. Our opponents won't. I don't know how to pronounce this, so I'm doing the best I can. Whalesy1, enjoying the chat. EVS, you got lucky with Super Frog dodging Sim. High five.
Yes.
Yeah, I guess that
did.
Sim situation was pretty hairy.
It was, and it was so stupid. These SJWs, they were so excited to ruin my day. They could have ruined my life, and they chose to ruin my day.
Yeah.
All they had to do, they had this information about this guy. They had, they had him dead to rights. All they had to do was sit on it and wait. All they had to do was sit on it and wait for
Premature
me to
ejaculation.
publish. Yeah, like if I had run with this guy, if I had worked with him and his name was all over Cyberfrog and I'd published him and paid him, and then suddenly they hit me with this,
Mm.
it would have destroyed Cyberfrog. It would have torn up my whole plan. It would have done everything like that. They instead of ruining my life, they chose to ruin my day. And I'm so grateful to those anti-Comicsgate SJWs right now. I could kiss them.
Yeah,
I could
yeah,
kiss every one of them. Mwah, thank you for that.
yeah,
Hilarious.
yeah. Conflagrationist Chris says, Jared Howe BTFO'd Peterson. So did Vox Day. I didn't hear about
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, what's the lore
Well,
on
I
that?
watched. Well, Vox Day has a real problem with. Well, he's got a real problem with me too. By the way, Vox Day does.
Why?
But uh, well, Vox Day tried to be Comicsgate before I was here. Like his whole thing was while I was still at DC.
Hmm.
Do you know Vox Day? Do you know him very well?
No,
Is
not
he
really.
your buddy?
I've never interacted with the guy, and I know that he runs a publishing house, and people have said that I should go to him to publish stuff. But look,
Sure.
if I can just do it myself, then what's the point? I can do it through Amazon KDP, KDF, or whatever it's called. Yeah. So, yeah, but
Yeah.
I don't know him. So go ahead.
The chat has Vox Day acolytes in here. They're calling me 2VS. That's Two Face Van Skyver. And they're saying that like he labeled me like Trumpian, and he did a great job. I fucking love 2VS. And then because you gate kept him. Uh, Listen, Vox Day is somebody who I really, really enjoyed my acquaintance with. I didn't really know him, like I didn't know his beliefs, but what I did know is that he was kind of alt-right, and he decided he wanted to come in and fight these SJWs in comics without having known anything about comics. And he put out this crowdfunded comic book called Alt Hero. She was wearing like a Confederate flag for a costume. She was a hot chick. It was everything meant to trigger social justice warriors. Now, my attitude was, look, you don't want to fight the extremes with an extreme. You want to offer a moderate. You want to offer a centrist alternative. Get all the audience. Get all the customers.
Yeah.
Something that was my plan. His
Yeah.
plan was just to do the opposite side. So we fought about that for a little while. I had him on my show, interviewed him. I don't know. We kind of talked. We formed kind of a weird kind of friendship over the telephone.
Hmm.
And then what happened was he decided that what he wanted to do was he wanted to make a publishing imprint called Comicsgate.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah. I caught up. Yeah, now I remember. So I
yeah,
wanted to, he's basically stole your name.
well, it's not my name. It's just a hashtag. But
Right.
in point of fact, it's like there are people who consider themselves comic skaters who just didn't want the forced association with Vox Day. The idea was that the hashtag belongs to everybody and nobody, and you can't really like if Vox Day is going to publish a comic book company called Comicsgate, the implication is that Comicsgate is Vox Day's belief system, and people had a real tough time with that and didn't want him to co-opt the movement. So I talked to some lawyers, and they said, you do a YouTube show called Comicsgate Live, you actually own the copyright to the name Comicsgate.
Oh,
And I was like,
wow.
shit, because you monetized it first. So I hit Vox Day with cease and desist
Hmm.
and threatened him with a lawsuit, and we've had problems ever since, he and I. But I told him, when he told me he was going to do this, I said, Vox, and these are magic words coming from me. I said, Vox, as a friend, don't do it. And he just ignored me and went on to a live stream and announced it. Now, if I say to you as a friend, that means you're going and you go against that. I'm asking for a favor. I'm asking for a favor like that, and you just defy it. You turn your nose. You can either I can either owe you a favor or we're going to become enemies.
Right.
It's one of those two things. That's the way it works in my world.
Yeah.
That's the way it's always worked in my world. So if I say to you, Coach Red Pill, as a friend, don't do that to me. Don't do this. Don't do that. And you do it anyway, you've become my enemy. Because I rarely say things like that. I don't
Sure.
make requests of people, but I knew this was going to cause all kinds of trouble. And it has. I mean, it's a shame. So Vox Day went on a whole tirade kind of trying to smear me and calling me two-faced and everything. I'm very much singularly faced. I asked him not to do this because I felt that it would hurt the movement that we've been working so hard to nurture and build into something. And he chose to try to co-opt it, I think, for his own reasons, which I don't want to speculate about. But anyway, Vox Day also has gone after Jordan Peterson. Just, I mean, took apart the
Successfully?
book 12 Rules. Well, yeah, like I think so. I think he had some good points. I actually told him, I said, I gotta say, I'm friends with Jordan Peterson. I like him, but you did a good job. I mean, I think you did point out some of his foibles and weaknesses. Um, yeah, good on him. You got to be honest with people, even if you don't agree with them about everything, even if you're in a fight, man. When they get one over, you got to
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
you got to acknowledge.
it's humility. You gotta
Of course.
call them like you see them. Not like you'd like to
Yeah.
see them. No. Look, insofar as Box Day, I have no opinion about him because I have never interacted with the guy. But insofar as what you said earlier, that he wanted to do a comic book character who was like trigger of the SJWs, trigger of the libs, right? I agree
Right.
with you. I agree that it has to be something that will appeal to the normies, to the broad middle.
That's
And
the only way to beat them.
yeah, and to go for the extreme, no, you just create a caricature, and not a cartoon in a cool way like you do, but like a character in the sense of a very small niche audience is going to care about that shit, you know. And if you're a businessman, because you are, and I used to be involved in commercial art. Okay, I mean, I was writing stuff for money. I didn't, not for accolades. I could give a shit about that. I was, it's something that I was remunerated for. And the same for you. You do comic books for money. It's a profession. It's a job. It's a perfectly respectable profession. And so the idea of doing something that will only appeal to a niche seems to me counterintuitive. You want to appeal to as
Right.
broad an audience as possible. And sometimes you recognize that you have to put in elements that will appeal to a niche who will be sort of like the hook for the bigger fish of the wider audience, if you will, to make a very crude or weird metaphor. But you see what I'm saying? I mean, it's all perfectly fine, but you're trying to appeal to as broad an audience as possible. And that, I think that what Vox Day is doing is it's just not appealing to me. Uh, um, I
But
don't
he
really.
can do it. I mean, the thing is, Vox Day can call himself Comics 8. There are people in the chat that are like, Vox Day fans that are outraged right now. This guy, Horse Mumbler, one says, Ethan is lying, Coach Red Pill. Go listen to what Vox said about it at the time. The Comic Skaters acted like a bunch of half-wits. Well, Horse Mumbler, I mean, I think we've litigated this to death, but I mean, I have the receipts, and Vox knows that I've got the receipts. And by the way, since then, Vox has come to me asking for some favors. I want you to know that.
What kind of
So
favors? If it's not
no,
in
no
politics,
comment.
no comment.
Yeah,
Okay.
no comment. So Vox is Vox has his way of spinning a tale, of spinning a yarn. And he's very entertaining. But I wouldn't necessarily think that what Vox had to say. By the way, Vox is so smart about some things and so fucking dumb about other things. It's unreal. Like he basically he got his fans all together to explain to them why his model for the comic book industry was so much better than mine. I mean, I've lived in comics for 25 years, but what he did was he took Cyberfrog and he said, "Look, Ethan's raised $628,000 for Cyberfrog. So why don't we divide? The book is the main book is 48 pages long. Divide 48 into 628,000. That's how much each page costs of Cyberfrog to make. Ethan needs this. He needs $15,000 a page to draw Cyberfrog. Now, on the other hand, my book over here, Alt Hero, brought in $25,000. Divide 48 into 25,000. We're bringing it in at $500 a page. So obviously, our model is much more economic
What's he
and
talking
makes
about?
more sense.
Because
I was like,
you raised pre-sales. This is pre-sales of the
it's
book, right?
it's called Profit
Yeah.
Vox. It's not. I make more per page than you. I don't require that much. I can draw it for free. But it's like saying how the hell is J.K. Rowling going to write another Harry Potter book? Her first book earned $117 million. Divide that by 500 pages. It's too expensive to write another Harry Potter book. It was the most half-witted and weirdo argument that he was making to his credulous audience. And they're here. I mean, I love you guys, but anyway, the point is that their complaint is that, did I gatekeep Vox Day? No, he just wasn't. I wasn't going to let him have the name Comicsgate if I had any legal protection over it, which I did, and he knew that. So, but it's everybody's. It's just not Vox's exclusively. Let's put it that way. I saved it for everyone.
Okay, so right now it's sort of like you have the rights to it, but you're basically standing aside so anybody can use it.
That's correct. Of course, Vox Day can say, "I am Comicsgate," and I will say, "Okay." Vox Day can have a YouTube show called Comicsgate, and I'll say, "Okay," and everybody will. But if Vox Day wants to set up a publishing, like a monetized publishing arm that makes it look as though he represents Comicsgate, I'm not going to let that happen, because Comicsgate's just a hashtag that everybody has to be able to use, and it doesn't imply association, like unwanted association with any one individual. It can't be political like that. People
Right.
can't perceive it to be alt-right. It has to be moderate. It has to be everyone. Now, the alt-right can be involved if they want. The alt-left can be involved. It doesn't really matter. It's just Comicsgate. The idea is that there are no politics. It's apolitical. It's all about money. It's all about serving the customer. It's the opposite of the mainstream of the comic book industry right now.
Yeah, because going back to what I was saying earlier, it's that issue of appealing to the mainstream. I don't have a
Hmm.
problem with it. A lot of people on our neck of the woods have an issue with that because they feel that they've been under siege and that they are on the margins, and it's understandable. I mean, if you've felt and been on the margins for a long time, you start to look rather warily at the mainstream, and you want to be you start to reject the mainstream. I think that's a mistake. It's an understandable impulse, but I think it's a mistake. And that's
Yeah.
why I think it's smart of you to like consciously be thinking, no, I want to target this mainstream. Sure, I want my adherents to like it, and enjoy it, but I want everybody to enjoy it, not just a very small niche. I think that that's a good thing. Yeah. So you got 15 pages to go. Uh, but how are you going to structure it? Because you said it was going to be like 75 pages, but you're going to release a 48-page book first, or I didn't quite
Well, the
understand.
way that the way that I've done it is that there's like a 48-page main story,
Yeah.
and then there's like a 25, 26-page extra miniature comic that is sort of extra information. It's another little story. It's all original that leads into the main book, or gives you more information about the main book. So you don't have to buy it. It's called an ash can,
Hmm.
but you can also buy it this tier that lets you get the ash can as well. So it's a total of about 75, 76 pages. It might be bigger at this point. I'm adding things to it, but it's going to be a masterpiece. It has to be. It has to be great.
Yeah.
It has to be, because everybody's looking at it. They're scrutinizing it and saying, "Why did this guy make this much money on this comic book?"
How
Well,
long
I
do you
I have
spend
to
on
say,
the
why?
script?
I'm not much of I don't really sit there and tap out the script first. I'm used to doing comics Marvel style. In other words, I have a plot. I know
Hmm.
where the story goes,
Hmm.
and then I sort of draw it and then script over the pages when it's done.
Mm, I see. Because
Yeah.
like I have no experience in comic books at all. Okay, and I'm very curious about it. Because I've got a couple of ideas that I'd like to develop into graphic novels, uh, or graphic novels, or comic books, or whatever. I don't quite know, but yeah, a couple of ideas that I have, and projects that would be very that I would find very interesting, and perhaps other people would find interesting too. That I recognize that, like I said, it's tough for writers nowadays. Okay, and I count myself very lucky that at a very young age, when I started my career in the '90s, and I was making a lot
Hmm.
of money. And of course, like a fool, I spent a lot of that money, right? And then I was practically bankrupt, and then I got lucky and made a lot more money again. But the second time, I was lucky enough, smart enough. I don't think it was smart. It was just lucky that I put a lot of that cash into things that appreciated in value over time. And at the same time, I started moving away from writing on my own because I started getting bored of it for
Hmm.
just various reasons of my own, and moving into different businesses. I got involved in real estate. I got involved in solar energy, all kinds of different random shit. And so what happened was that now I'd like to write again because I feel that like the pace of my life would be very conducive to writing again. And I do write, but there's no room for me in publishing. And yet at the same time, I realize how lucky I am because there's no room in publishing for me, and I'm a fairly decent writer. There is absolutely no room for a whole bunch of other people who don't have the luxury or the good fortune that I have of just basically hanging out on YouTube and just doing whatever the fuck I want. There are a
This
lot
is the
of
best,
yeah,
isn't it?
yeah.
It's really
Look,
great.
there are so many writers. You have no idea. Really capable writers who are just shit out of luck. They are out of step with the current market environment. And the current market environment, there are these oligopolies that control publishing. The big five, it's a disaster because you got to keep in mind, like in the 1930s, for instance, there were 50 publishers in New York, but over the decades, they've just consolidated into five. And you
Mm,
see all these different imprints, but no, they're all the same. And
yeah.
editorially, you'd be surprised how lockstep they are. And politically, good God, it's all SJW because all of the people who are executives today were in college in the early 2000s, and they all imbibed rather this SJW bullshit, and they believe it. They think that that's the way it should be. By the way, a super chat here, and it's something I'm curious to get your take on. Said, Ethan, what's your opinion on Star Wars 2019? Is it redeemable? Yeah, let's talk about Star Wars because because we touched upon
Yeah.
it briefly before we started on this channel. Let's finish off with that. I don't want to keep you up too late. But what do you think of 2019 Star Wars Episode 9? You think it's gonna be a big old flop or what?
Oh my God. Well, no, I don't think it's going to be a flop. I think it'll make $1 billion. They're hoping that obviously people are hoping that it will be sub $1 billion. So that'll teach Lucasfilm a thing or two, but that's not possible. It's impossible for one of the main, trilogy pieces to actually come in under a billion. Do I think it'll be good? Well, it's not going to be Ryan Johnson, so that's good. There's going to be some stuff in it that's interesting. I'm interested in Luke Skywalker. They're hinting at the ghost of Darth Vader rather than the ghost of Anakin, which is freaky. They're hinting at the son of Jabba the Hutt running a whole mafia on Tatooine, Rada the Hutt. I want to see that shit. I want to see what they're going to do with Princess Leia and that last bit of footage that they have. I want to see how they're going to send off Billy D. Williams as Lando Calrissian. So yeah, I think it's got enough things in it. People say, is it going to be good? No, but it is going to be enough Star Wars fan wankery that I'm going to see it and I'm going to have a good time. Unless there's some weird stuff in there. They're hinting that Poe and Finn might be gay.
Oh
They've been
God.
hinting at that for 2 movies. They're going to become a couple. If that's in there, it's going to be a little weird. It's going to be a little wacky. Will they pull that trigger? I'm not. That would be something if they did. If they actually did that, that would be something else.
I think that would be a
But
catastrophe.
well, I think it probably would be a catastrophe. Yeah, for most audiences. But again, got to remember, get woke, go broke. They're not interested. It's not so much about the money. For these SJWs, they will just say, "Whoops! Well, we tried. We tried to do something that." They'll explain it away to Disney that way. Hey, we got the first, gay Star Wars characters on the movie screen, and that'll be enough. But yeah, that's what these guys do. The SJWs go in there, they put SJWism on the screen. They fail, but it doesn't matter because they got it on the screen.
Well, yeah, they
So
failed, but they trashed the franchise because Robert Iger at Disney, he's going to be pissed off if Episode 9 scores under 2 billion. It has to.
2 billion, you
Yeah,
think,
it has to because Episode 8.
to make up?
Yeah, no, it's just as part of a marketing strategy of a business strategy. These
Mm-hmm.
businesses are supposed to deliver X amount of revenue. That's the point of them. That's why they're made. You don't spend, $300 million on a picture unless you aren't going to get that kind of revenue. I mean, remember, look, they talk about $1 billion worth of revenue. Okay, how does this work? The box office might be $1 billion, but the distributor is going to get a piece of that because that's what just at the box office the exhibitors get a cut of that, usually 50% or more. Now, on the previous Star Wars pictures, I know that they were getting like 80-90% of box office receipts because they could negotiate that. But now, with the weakness of these pictures, they cannot negotiate that. So they're going to be lucky if they get 60% of the revenue. Now, 60% of the gross revenue, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's called film rentals, right? And so they're gonna go for they're gonna ask for 80-90%, but they're gonna get 60 from the exhibitors. And so 60% of 2 billion is 1.4 billion. Now that sounds like a lot of money. It sounds like a really good deal, but there are a lot of expenses that go into making a picture beyond the actual cost of making it. Okay, there's P&A, prints and advertising. Now it's just advertising really because prints are digital. The marketing push and all that, the marketing for the toys, because you got to keep in mind, the whole point of Disney is it makes movies as advertisements for its toys. That's its business model. That's always been its business model since 1931 when they came out with the Mickey Mouse watch. Okay, all of the cartoons, they all were money losers, by the way. Like Fantasia was a huge money loser, and Snow White and all the rest of it. But they were always ads for the toys. Now, the Star Wars toys has been reported all over the place have been a dismal failure. No kid wants to buy these toys because of the SJW shit, right? And so the kids aren't buying the toys. Now, these therefore become very, very expensive and highly risky commercials for toys that nobody wants. So if I'm Bob Iger, I'm freaking the fuck out. And I'm wondering, how do I save this thing? And my suspicion is what they're going to do is that they're going to release episode 9 and Star Wars is going to fade into the sunset. And there aren't going to be any more Star Wars pictures for at least 3 to 5 years. And they're going to just sunset the whole thing. They're going to pay off Benioff and Weiss, who are developing projects. They'll just pay them off because it'll be cheaper to pay them off and pay their full contract as opposed to actually going through with the movies that they're planning and probably writing at this point, and just sunset the whole franchise for a while. Okay. And then in 3-5 years, when the bad taste of this trilogy has gone away, then they try to reboot somehow. That to me would be the smart business decision from Bob Iger's point of view.
Well, I that would be great, but I don't think so. I don't think they. I don't think that's what they're going to do. I mean, Bob Iger did come out and say, "I want to slow shit down."
Yeah.
He said that 4 months ago. He said, "I'm going to slow Star Wars down," and then he put his foot on the pedal. Now the problem is that it's not so much about the movies anymore. They don't
Wait.
even own the.
Hang on. You said about putting the foot to the pedal. What you mean? Upping Kathleen Kennedy's contract?
No, that's just bullshit. That was
Yeah.
just for show. No, I mean putting their foot to the pedal in terms of just production. They've got 2 TV shows that they're working on right now that are very, very expensive. $100 million for 10 episodes of each show. The Mandalorian and Cassian Andor. Cassian Andor, a character off Rogue One that nobody gives a shit about.
Oh
It's so bad, dude. So they've got that. They're doing they're bringing back Clone Wars, and then
God.
Episode 9. They're pushing all this stuff. 2019 is supposed to be the biggest year for Star Wars, and on top of that, they've got the Galaxy's Edge theme park. Now, the real problem here for Lucasfilm is that right now they don't own the broadcast rights to any of their fucking movies. None of them. Kathleen Kennedy sold the broadcast rights to Turner for $150 million.
Oh.
$150 million. Money that she
Why?
basically pissed away on Solo. I mean, they lost that money on Solo
Yeah.
because she's an idiot, because
Yeah.
she's a fucking idiot. So they don't own the rights to any of their movies. This movie that's coming out, Episode 9, is the very first Star Wars movie that they will own the broadcast rights to. They don't even own The Force Awakens. They don't even own Solo. They don't own any of these things. They don't own The Last Jedi. That's why when you turn on the TV, it's TBS that's playing the Star Wars movies. So Disney's big thing is, hey, we've got this streaming service, Disney streaming service. We need fucking Star Wars content to put on the streaming service to sell the plan. We don't own any of the original 6 movies. We don't own any of the movies that we put out so far. We need content. Thus, Cassian Andor, thus The Mandalorian, Episode 9, and they're going to go full tilt with these movies. There is going to be a Star Wars movie every year. Don't believe them when they say where they're going to slow down. They don't think that they failed in any way. They're confused about Solo.
There. The money wasn't
They
there. Solo died.
Solo died. They blame Solo's death on the fact that they released it in May instead of December. Seriously, these
Oh
people are
man.
delusional.
Look at Marvel. They
Um,
released 3 movies last year, and they all did gangbusters.
yeah.
There's like a hunger for Marvel shit. I personally am kind of
Well, we'll
tired of
see
it
how that
personally.
goes. Yeah, we'll see how it goes with Captain Marvel. I mean,
Oh,
that's
that's gonna
this is the
die.
thing.
That's gonna die, isn't it? You just smell the desperation in that trailer, or is that me?
No, I agree with you. I think Captain Marvel is one of these characters that Marvel Comics has tried desperately to sell to its comic book reading audience. People do not fucking want this character. She's boring. She fires energy blasts from her hands. She looks like Justin Bieber. Like they're really turning this character into a man.
Yeah.
We call her Carl Manvers instead of Carol Danvers. That she's becoming. I mean, she is becoming a trans character now. It's very, very strange how it's happening, and Marvel won't just admit that that's kind of what they're doing. So they're trying to push this movie. They're trying to make this movie work because it is going to be. It's going to open a gate wide for all of their failed social justice warrior characters to get a second
God.
life on the big screen.
Oh
Remember what I
God.
said. This is what social justice warriors do. They don't create anything. They don't create shit. They wait for a powerful, well-loved, popular platform. They go in, they infiltrate it, they fuck it up, and that's what they do. So we know the MCU is one of the biggest platforms ever. It's enormous. Everyone loves the Avengers. They're going to launch Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel's going to lead Squirrel Girl, Ms. Marvel, Kamala Khan,
Wait.
the
They're doing
gay
Squirrel
Iceman.
Girl.
Squirrel Girl. Oh, sure they will. No, watch this happen. Squirrel Girl, America Chavez, all of their failed diversity characters will be in the MCU following Avengers Endgame.
Because I only
It's
know
gonna
Squirrel
suck.
Girl. Yeah, it sounds like it. I only know Squirrel Girl from Zach Diversity in Comics. I thought
Yeah.
that
They're,
I didn't know that they were going to do a movie, but you think that they're going to do a movie about
oh,
Squirrel Girl.
I don't know that for a fact. I'm suspecting that this is what they're going to do. And Kevin Feige, the president of the MCU, came out and actually said as much. He said, "We're going to double down on the diversity." You think? And he said Black Panther. He's like, "You think Black Panther was the start?" No, I don't. Black Panther is a real Marvel character created by Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. It's a real fantasy. Of course, it's going to do well. Captain Marvel is nobody's fucking fantasy, and neither is Kamala Khan, neither is Squirrel Girl. None of these characters have connected with anyone the way Black Panther has in the comics, and they're going to fail. But he actually said, "Yeah, Black Panther was that was what motivated us to do more diversity
Oh
movies
God.
about more." Here they come. Here
Do
come.
do you think that Kevin Feige was just saying that for the peanut gallery, or he really believes it?
No, they're all. Well, he's going to do it. I don't know if he believes it. But you can't swim. You can't swim in that water without being an SJW. You got to inhale that. You know, he is going there. Basically, what these SJWs do is, they're like, "Oh, nice shit that you've built here,
Let's fuck it
toxic,
up.
toxic male. Yeah, you're gonna let us in now. Hey, how come there aren't any women? How come there aren't enough female characters in the MCU? Well, there are. No. How come there aren't enough? There are more men. There are way more white. How come they're all white? That's weird. Oh shit. Is Kevin Feige a racist? Is he a sexist? Move over and let us in.
Mm.
Who's this guy, Jason Blumhouse? Who movie producer? This is a guy who can take like $1 million and turn it into $1 billion in a movie. I mean, this is a very smart horror director. And he's just Bloomhouse Studios has become absolutely enormous.
Mm-hmm.
Paranormal Activity movies,
Mm-hmm.
all of that cheap movies that just rake in the box office. The feminists came after him. They said, "How come you don't employ any women? There are no women on your staff."
What do you say?
He said, "I'm going to start fucking hiring women. Please don't bother me." What would you have said? And yet we are, and yet here we are making billions of dollars on $1 million movies. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
No, you can't say
they
that in
kowtowed.
Hollywood.
Yeah, they kowtowed. Oh man,
So
I'm wondering where this is all going to end. You know, what's the end point of all of this shit? Okay, is there going to be
I don't know.
some blowout reaction like "shut the fuck up and go make me a sandwich, bitch," or "I'll beat the shit out of you"? Is it going to be that level of just, you
I
know?
don't think it needs to go to that level, but I mean,
No, neither do I. Of course, I'm just like hyperbolic. But what exactly is the end stage of this kind of? What I object to is that I don't want to hear and watch this ideological shit that's being shoved down my throat. I don't want to hear it because I don't believe it. Number one, and
mm,
it's a religion that I do not partake in. I'm a good Catholic boy. I'm not an acolyte of the SJW religion. You know what I mean? And
no.
leave me the fuck alone. And why do you fuck up stuff that I like so much? You know, it's just
Frankly, yeah, more people like us have to step in and just create our own thing, and then when they come a call in, go fuck yourself, and that's it. It's just those three words: go fuck yourself. And if people who are not social justice warriors, who are anti-fragile. Did you hear that, Vox Day fans? I used one of Vox's words, anti-fragile.
anti-fragile. Is
Uh,
Nassim Taleb invented that? The
oh,
Vox
I
Day
read it
uses that.
all the time. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, anti-fragile is a
Uh,
concept that Nassim Taleb invented, which is very, very astute concept. But yeah, it's basically
it is.
a system that becomes stronger with more use and abuse. Yeah, so
Yeah,
Box Day ripped that off him. Oh, that's funny. Okay, I didn't know about that. Anyway, I
I don't know if he
interrupted your
ripped it
flip,
off. Yeah,
but you were saying about
but
Box
that's
Day?
people have to become anti-fragile. People have to create alternate institutions that actually say no, and otherwise, they win. Otherwise, that's it. SJWs converge everything, and we all have to just deal with it. Find something else to do.
Yeah,
And when it fails, they'll say, "Well, I guess nobody really wanted to buy comic books because people are bigots,
yeah, yeah,
or because they're playing video games." They have a million excuses.
yeah.
But again, I'm a very scary guy. I sold a book about a talking frog. I made it sell. So that's one of the reasons why they're after me, Coach.
And on that topic, on that note, we're gonna call it a stream. This has been quite the stream. It's been really, really fascinating. There's a final super chat that I have to put out. Conflagrationist Chris asks, CRP thoughts on Chris Cantwell? Yeah, I once talked to Chris Cantwell. He's a fucking moron. He's and a pussy to boot because apparently there's some video of him crying because he was afraid that he was going to get arrested. Fuck, man. When I was 16 years old, I got picked up by a military patrol in Chile during the Pinochet dictatorship, right? I spent the night in
Mm.
jail, right? I didn't fucking cry while I stayed there. I actually cried the next morning when my mother came to pick me up and yelled at me. Then I did. But come on, Chris Cantwell, and isn't he like this racist guy who's actually married to an Asian or a black girl? I forget, but I know that he's hooked up with some minority, and so he's larping as some national socialist or whatever the hell. I don't know. He's nobody, but I interacted with him. I found him. I don't know. I hope he's not your friend. Is he your friend?
I don't know him. I don't know who he is. Yeah.
Oh, just some larper, just some nobody. But anyway, that's my opinion on him. I have spoken with the man, and I think he's pathetic. Yeah, I
Mm.
spoke with him on Baked Alaska's stream. Poor Baked Alaska. That was a fucking blowout. But yeah, I don't want to keep you up anymore because it must be late as hell where you are.
I got to go to sleep. I got a dentist appointment at like 9 a.m. and
Oh,
it's
you're fucked.
3:49 in the morning. No, I enjoyed it. I absolutely enjoyed talking to you. Like I said, I'm a fan of your channel. I think you do good work,
Thank you so
and I'm really
much.
glad you reached out to say hello today. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
yeah, it was my pleasure. This has been delightful. Yeah, so good night to one and all, and I will see you next time.